Omegle was a website that let anyone, including kids, video chat with complete strangers. No filters, no profiles, just a webcam and a random connection. You might think it's gone, but the truth is, Omegle clones are everywhere. And what happens on them is still deeply disturbing and still incredibly dangerous. Hi, I'm Alicia Kozak. I was the first child abducted by an internet predator, and for over 20 years, I've made it my mission to protect families from the evolving dangers online. From speaking in schools to educating the public through the media, from working with law enforcement and shaping critical legislation, I've dedicated my life to making the digital world safer. So today we're going to talk about Omegle, a name that you've probably heard, maybe even assumed was no longer a threat. But whether your child used it in the past or is finding a similar version right now, this video is your warning. Omegle's legacy didn't vanish, it just evolved. And if we don't stay informed, we leave the door wide open to the exact kind of harm it was so well known for. And platforms like Omegle, whether it's the original or one of the many copycats, represent everything we need to be paying attention to as parents. Because the risk, it's real, it's immediate, and it's targeting our kids. And I hear from parents all the time who say, my child would never go on something like that. But I've seen what really happens. I've spoken to the survivors, and I've seen the chat logs. I know how these sites work and who's really on the other end of that screen. Omegle was a free anonymous chat site with one simple tagline, terrifying tagline, which was, talk to strangers. That's it. No sign up, no profile, no age verification, just click a button and suddenly your child could be face to face on a live video call with someone anywhere in the world. Completely unfiltered, completely anonymous, and completely unmonitored. It offers both text and video chats with no requirement to even use the name. The site matched users at random, which is exactly what made it feel so thrilling to kids, but also so dangerous. Omegle launched in 2009 and became wildly popular with teens and preteens. Not because it was safe or smart, but because it was risky. It was used for entertainment, as a dare, even as a party game, and kids would log on during sleepovers or after school looking for laughs or a quick thrill. They weren't necessarily looking for anything that was inappropriate, but predators definitely knew that they were going to be logging on. And many kids, they saw Omegle as a joke. They clicked in, giggled, clicked next, but that curiosity, wanting to see what random shocking thing would pop up, is exactly why predators are on it. They expose themselves. They try to initiate sexual conversations. And because it's anonymous, they often get away with it before a parent could ever find out. And kids like mysterious, kids like thrilling, and that appeal, it hasn't gone away. Even though Omegle was officially shut down in late 2023 after mounting lawsuits and public pressure, its influence still lingers. Copycat sites and Omegle-style apps are everywhere. They go by lots of different names, but they're marketed the same way. Random, anonymous, and video-based. The same dangers, just with a bunch of different names. And kids, they're still logging on for those very same reasons. For curiosity, for laughs, and because a friend dared them to. Because someone on TikTok talked about it. But what makes Omegle and other apps like it so dangerous is that it doesn't look dangerous. It looks like a game. One button connects you to a stranger, and if you don't like what you see, you just click next. That roulette-style setup feels funny, it feels fast, and it's really exciting. Kids see it as a challenge, a joke, or something to try at a sleepover just for a thrill, and they dare each other to go on to see something weird, to talk to someone creepy, or to get a shock and laugh about it later. But it's not a joke, because on the other side of that screen is someone anonymous, someone who may not be a child, someone who is there for a reason, and that reason is often deeply disturbing. And predators, they love platforms like Omegle. No accounts, no names, no age verification, just a screen, a camera, and a direct line to your child. They know kids are logging in for fun, for curiosity, for attention, and they weaponize that curiosity. Some flash themselves immediately, and then pushing boundaries further and further. And if a child reacts, if they laugh, flirt, or even just don't leave fast enough, that's all the encouragement that the predator needs to escalate. But many don't stop at the conversation. That's not what they're there for. They secretly record, they threaten, they groom. They convince children to turn on their cameras, to say and do things that they never would have done otherwise. They know exactly what to say to make a child feel trapped, to make them feel ashamed, and to make them feel responsible. That's the heart of grooming, turning curiosity into compliance through shame, fear, and manipulation. But even worse, these moments, they often go unseen. There are no chats to scroll back through, there's no usernames to track, it's just a private interaction that disappears the second your child hits next. Unless, of course, the predator recorded it. Something that happens far more often than a lot of parents realize. I've spoken to so many families whose children were recorded without their knowledge, then they were blackmailed into sending more. Some of these children were as young as 8 or 9. They weren't looking for danger. Again, they were curious, they were being silly, they were trying to be a grown-up, and someone used that innocence against them. But this isn't an app, it's a digital hunting ground. And every second your child is on it, they're one click away from a stranger who wants to harm them. At first glance, Omegle might have looked like just another hangout, A little edgy, maybe a little inappropriate, but not life-altering. But the danger of Omegle wasn't in its novelty, it was in its very design. That platform's very foundation was built on anonymity, and that kind of digital invisibility is exactly what predators are looking for. And predators use Omegle for one reason: access. Immediate, face-to-face access with children. And they didn't need to work hard to find them. And it all happens really fast. Kids go on for fun, looking for laughs, and find themselves caught in something that they can't understand. Maybe they were dared to flash a stranger. Maybe they trusted someone who claimed to be their age. Maybe they were manipulated into believing that they were in a loving relationship. And maybe, like far too many victims, they were recorded. They have been threatened, blackmailed, and told if they didn't send more images, the first ones would then be shared with friends and family. That's called sextortion, and it doesn't just happen to other kids. It's happening in every community, every school, and to children from every background. The emotional toll, it's devastating. Some kids, they blame themselves. Others stay silent out of fear. And some are so ashamed that they don't tell anyone until it's too late. This is why platforms like Omegle, they aren't just risky or inappropriate. They are dangerous by design, because they make it easy for the worst people to find the most vulnerable users. And while it may be shut down in some places now, the damage it caused continues, and the platforms that are copied are still out there. But let me tell you about a real case, because I don't want you to think that this is just theoretical. In 2023, a man named Anthony Benton was sentenced to 16 years in federal prison for using Omegle to exploit children. And I need you to let that number sink in. 16 years, that's what the courts gave him. The scars that are left on his victims could last a lifetime. And according to federal investigators, Benton targeted nearly 1,000 young girls, some as young as 7, through anonymous video chats. He posed as a teenager, he gained their trust, and then he manipulated them into performing on camera. He recorded that abuse without their knowledge, and he stored it. That's right, he saved it, he categorized it, and in some cases, he distributed it. At least 72 girls were confirmed victims, and those are just the ones that authorities could identify. But he didn't have to break into their homes, he didn't have to stalk them at school. He simply logged on, turned on his camera, and he waited. That's the world that Omegle created, a predator's playground where children show up curious, unguarded, and completely alone. And Anthony Benton certainly isn't the only one. Another man, James Patrick Burns, a 55-year-old registered sex offender, used Omegle alongside other apps like Snapchat and TikTok to coerce over 100 victims into sending him explicit content. He used multiple fake accounts, he told kids how to hide their conversations, and he exploited their fear, he exploited their confusion, and he used their silence. He was eventually sentenced to 65 years in prison, but that emotional toll he left behind for those victims, the shame, the fear, the stolen trust, it doesn't have a set sentence, it continues. Like I said, these are far from the only cases. These are examples of how easy it is for a predator to access your child through an app like Omegle. They don't need to know your child's name, address, or even their username. They just need your child to be online, unsupervised, and willing to chat. That's it. And the predators, they're really patient, they're strategic, and they're everywhere. That's why I'm sharing these videos, that's why I'm telling you these stories, because I was one of those kids. I know how fast things can spiral when you think the person on the other side of the screen is your friend. I know what it's like to be groomed, and I know how hard it is to talk about it when the world doesn't understand how it happens. So please, don't wait for something to happen before you act. Talk to your child today. Ask them what they're using, who they're talking to, what they've seen. Let them know that they can come to you with absolutely anything without fear, without punishment, and without shame. Because predators, they thrive on silence. And your voice, your presence, your attention, that's what helps to stop them. You might be thinking, well, Omegle's gone now, right? Isn't that enough? No, not even close. Remember, Omegle officially shut down in 2023, and some countries have taken steps to ban it. Banning one site doesn't simply erase the danger. It just pushes it somewhere else. And the predators, they really always know where to go next. Since Omegle shut down, dozens of copycat platforms have popped up almost overnight. And they promise the same thing. And some of them even advertise that they're just like Omegle. And guess who's waiting on those platforms? Predators, groomers, people looking to expose themselves or coerce a child the moment that connection goes through. Even more troubling, these platforms are easier to access than ever. Kids are using VPNs to get around school restrictions or parental controls. There are tutorials online, peer recommendations, even TikToks that show how to access these banned sites. It's not underground, it's right there, out in the open. And of course, many of these sites don't even bother to monitor content. They don't try. They're built fast, hosted overseas, and they often disappear just as quickly, only to reappear under a different name. They change domains, change names, change logos, but the function stays the same. That's the digital game, the whack-a-mole that we're really up against. One goes down and 5 more pop up. And don't think that app stores are keeping up. Many of these platforms launch as downloadable apps disguised with fake icons and neutral names like video chat or random cam. Your child might already have one installed and you might not even really know what it does. But what can you do? Well, we have to shift from reacting to preventing. We have to move beyond focusing on one site and start understanding the pattern, that appeal, and the vulnerability. Kids don't seek out these platforms because they're evil or because they're reckless. They seek them out because they're really curious, because again, it feels exciting, because someone told them it was funny, it was harmless, and it was just for laughs. But predators, they rely on that curiosity, and they count on parents not being able to keep up. They exploit the silence between what kids are doing online and what adults assume is happening. And that's why bans aren't enough. Legislation, of course, is important. Enforcement matters. But nothing replaces you, the parent, the guardian, the caring adult. Asking the questions, having the conversations, and being aware of what's out there. Because Omegle itself may be gone, but what it created, that's still very much alive. So let's get practical, because this isn't just about warning signs. It's about knowing what to do right now. If your child has ever used Omegle, a clone app, or anything like it, please know you're not alone. And you're not a bad parent. These platforms are built to be addictive. They prey on curiosity, boredom, and insecurity, normal parts of being a kid. But awareness is power, and now is the time to act. So start by looking through your child's phone, their laptop, their tablet, not with suspicion, but with care. Go through every app. Look for vague names, like I said, random chat, video friend, live talk, anything that doesn't match what you've installed. Ask them directly, hey, what's this one for? And don't stop at that home screen. Go into the App Store history and see what's been downloaded recently or recently deleted. Some apps have hidden vaults or vanish once they're closed, but there are tools that can help you reveal them. Next, check that browser history. If it's empty, ask them why. A wiped history might be a red flag, or it might just mean that they're using private browsing or incognito mode. In either case, it's a good moment to talk about it. Not to punish, to talk. Also, keep an eye out for signs that your child may be engaged in private or risky conversations. Are they staying up late? Are they hiding their screen when you walk in? Do they seem anxious or withdrawn after being online? Do they quickly close tabs? Do they minimize windows? Do they avoid certain questions? These changes don't always mean that something's wrong, but they're definitely worth paying attention to. And if you discover that they've been exposed to something upsetting or dangerous, take a breath. Try not to react with panic or shame. Instead, reassure them that they can tell you anything, that you're there to help them and not punish them. Your calm response could be the very thing that helps them to open up and ask for help. Here's something I always emphasize in my presentations. Kids don't need us to be perfect. We can't be. They just need us to be present. You can also set up parental controls or monitoring tools. But remember, no app replaces a conversation. These tools can support you, but they can't talk to your child about safety. That's your superpower. And when you do talk, don't just focus on rules. Talk about values, talk about things like trust, about what it means to be safe, and to not be scared. Remind them, if anyone ever pressures them, exposes themselves, or makes them feel uncomfortable, it is never, ever their fault. That person is the person in the wrong, and they can always, always, always come to you. Predators thrive in silence, and you shatter that silence the moment you start the conversation. I've seen what happens when kids are left alone to navigate a digital world by adults who profit off their attention. Because I was once a child who trusted the wrong person online. And because even though Omegle might be gone, the danger isn't. Remember, it's evolved, it's rebranded, it's waiting under a brand new name, a new app icon, a new website that seems harmless until it's not. This is about awareness. It's about refusing to look away, even when it's easier to believe, not my kid. Because predators are counting on you to believe that. And if you're looking for more real-world strategies, step-by-step tips, and deeper insights, check out my new book, The Internet Safety Guidebook, Protecting Kids in Digital Age. You'll find it in the description below. And if this video helped you understand what your child might face, or if it opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel. I post new videos throughout the week to help you stay informed, spot the signs, and protect your family in the digital age. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you never miss an update, because the dangers are always changing, but so are the tools that we have to fight them. Thank you for being here, for caring enough to learn, and for being part of a growing community that refuses to stay silent. I'm Alicia Kosak. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and I'll see you in the next video.